Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're tackling something where having the right info literally separates life from death. We're getting straight into the official science-backed earthquake survival protocols directly from the USGS and the American Red Cross. We're going to look at the hard data together and build a concrete, reliable game plan for how to survive when the ground actually starts shaking.
All right, so here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll bust the triangle of life myth. Second, the 4 steps to prepare. Third, building your emergency kit. Fourth, surviving the shaking. And finally, we'll cover the aftermath and recovery. Okay, Section 1, the triangle of life myth. Let's dive in and tackle a really dangerous piece of viral misinformation right out of the gate. Before we even touch on what you should do, we've got to talk about what you absolutely should not do.
You've probably seen those chain emails or social media posts about the triangle of life. The whole idea is that instead of getting under a desk, you're supposed to hunker down next to a massive piece of furniture, basically hoping that when the ceiling caves in, it creates this protective little void over you. But is that actually legit? Well, according to the official USGS FAQ, absolutely not. It's a wildly misguided concept based on observations from an earthquake in Turkey, and it just flat out does not apply to buildings constructed here in the US.
And honestly, this perfectly illustrates how dangerous it is to copy-paste one specific scenario onto a completely different building code. The myth tells you to crouch next to a bed or sofa, but the actual fact, officially backed by both the Red Cross and the USGS, is that drop, cover, and hold on beneath a sturdy desk or table is still your absolute best move. Trying to magically predict where a structural void might form in a modern building, yeah, that is incredibly dangerous. We need to completely delete the triangle of life from our survival playbook forever.
Moving right along to Section 2, 4 steps to prepare. What's actually pretty cool here is how they break down this massive, overwhelming fear into proactive, bite-sized actions you can take today.
So the USGS lays out 4 steps to get ready before a disaster ever strikes. Step 1 is securing your space by finding the hazards. Step 2 is planning to be safe, which means getting a solid disaster and communication strategy together with your family. Step 3 is organizing those disaster supplies so they're ready to go. And Step 4, which honestly so many people forget, is minimizing financial hardship by getting your important documents organized ahead of time.
Let's zoom in on that first step for a second, because this is where earthquake physics get really real inside your house. Shaking turns normally harmless stuff into deadly projectiles. The USGS specifically points out that huge appliances, like your refrigerator, can literally walk all the way across the kitchen floor. Bookcases topple. TVs become flying hazards. You even got to ask yourself, what happens if my kitchen cupboards fly open? Nobody wants to dodge a barrage of dinner plates during a massive quake, right? So bolting heavy items to the wall, that is absolutely your first line of defense.
Okay, Section 3, building your emergency kit. Now that your physical space is secured, let's look at the supplies you need to handle the immediate and lingering fallout of a major earthquake.
Here is the non-negotiable USGS gear list. We're talking a fire extinguisher, critical meds, a first aid kit, flashlights with extra batteries, and a portable radio. But hey, take a look at that specific, often overlooked tool in the list, crescent and pipe wrenches. Why wrenches? Well, because you might need to scramble to turn off your gas and water mains to stop fires or flooding in a damaged house. It's a total game changer.
Now, I really want to emphasize this surprising number, 14. When most of us pack water for a rainy day, we're thinking what, 3 or 4 days max? But the USGS data is crystal clear. You need a full 14 days of water. That is 2 solid weeks of surviving entirely cut off from the city water supply.
So, what does 14 days of water actually look like? To put it in perspective, you have to budget at least 1 gallon of water per person per day. So, if you've got a family of 4, you are looking at a staggering 56 gallons of water that needs to be safely stored. And as a backup, the USGS says to make sure you've got purification tablets or chlorine bleach tucked away, just in case you end up having to sanitize water from other less than ideal sources.
All right, Section 4, surviving the shaking. The house is secure, the kit is packed. Now let's talk about what actually goes down in those chaotic split seconds when the ground starts to move. Surviving the actual shaking is honestly all about fighting your own human instinct. The second the ground rumbles, our brain screams at us to flee, but the official guidance is rock solid. If you are indoors, stay indoors. The do's are simple. Get under a desk, hold onto it, or press against an inside wall.
The don'ts are where people mess up. Do not run down the stairs and do not sprint outside while the building is still shaking. Oh, and get out of the kitchen immediately. With all those heavy, unanchored appliances, it's pretty much the most dangerous room in your house. Here's another massive instinct you have to fight. If the power cuts out during the shaking, your immediate reaction is probably to flick a lighter or light a match just to see what's going on. Absolutely do not do this. The USGS heavily warns against using matches, lighters, camp stoves, or basically any electrical equipment until you know for a fact there are no gas leaks. Just one tiny spark can ignite a gas pocket and trigger a massive explosion. And a quick pro tip, if you do shut your gas off, don't play hero trying to turn it back on yourself later. Let the gas company do it.
We also have to suppress the urge to immediately call every single friend and family member to check in. The rule here is strict. Do not use your telephone unless it is a life-or-death medical or fire emergency. You literally have to keep those local communication lines open and untied so that first responders can actually get dispatched to people who desperately need them.
Which brings us to Section 5, the aftermath and recovery. So the shaking has finally stopped. How do we transition from sheer survival to managing the immediate aftermath?
The absolute first physical thing you should do isn't sweeping up. It's putting on a pair of sturdy shoes. Your floors are going to be a minefield of shattered glass, broken dishes, and sharp debris, and you don't want to become a casualty 5 minutes after the quake just because you walked around barefoot. And mentally, brace yourself. Expect aftershocks. The danger absolutely does not vanish after that first wave passes. Next up is basic triage. Check your household. If someone's bleeding, grab clean gauze or a cloth and apply direct pressure. Not breathing? Administer CPR. Cover injured people with blankets to keep them warm and stave off shock. But listen, here is the golden rule of earthquake triage from the USGS. Do not, under any circumstances, try to move someone who is seriously injured unless they are in immediate danger of getting hurt worse. Moving someone with a spinal injury the wrong way can be fatal. If at all possible, wait for the pros.
So, we've busted the myths, walked through the prep, covered the exact split-second reactions, and laid out the aftermath protocols. You know, the USGS actually runs this massive campaign called Shakeout to get people practicing these exact life-saving steps. So I'm going to leave you with this. Are your heavy shelves actually bolted down? Is that 14-day water supply sitting in your garage right now? And do you instinctively know what to do when the floor suddenly drops out from under you? Basically, are you ready to shake out? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and seriously, stay